Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode number 4 of Let's Talk. I am your host, Marie-Yves, Nadine, Jean-Baptiste. I am the owner and CEO of the St. Eve Law Firm located in Towson, Maryland. So we had to do a little bit of a pivot today. Ultimately, I was scheduled to do a live podcast with an attorney, and we had to switch some things around because it's Memorial Day, right? So happy Memorial Day, everyone. And this is definitely a holiday where we get to reflect on sacrifices, made by others. And it's a very important holiday. So I hope everyone is out there enjoying themselves and, not driving drunk, please. Anyway, this week, I really wanted to take some time out to talk to everyone about, taxation issues dealing with audits, small businesses, and individuals who are independent contractors. I am a small business. I run a small business. However, I make sure, like most business owners, to do everything that I can to insulate myself from the pitfalls of an audit, right? But not all of us have either had audit experience or have someone like an accountant like I have that can tell me what to do, right? And of course, having tax knowledge myself, ultimately, I'm a little bit more well equipped to take care of, paper trails and make sure everything matches up, right? But for the regular individual, everyday Joe Schmoes who do not have time to think about things and they're just working hard trying to build a business and ultimately take care of themselves, we have some pitfalls that we need to talk about. So I am in the middle of a major audit for a client, actually 2 clients who are married and they both have businesses. In doing this, I realized that a lot of us are ultimately walking around without the knowledge that we need in order to avoid having to hire an attorney and spend thousands of dollars, right? So I'm here to talk about preventive measures. So the first thing that I really, really want to talk about is receipts. Please keep your receipts. Every single month, my accountant, I'm really bad at sending stuff on time because, I'm working and I'm in the trenches and I'm just go, right? As a small business owner, that's just what we do. And so my accountant has made it a priority to send me an email every single month to say, hey, Marie, don't forget to send me the bank statements, the receipts, and everything, that you have for the month. So that's one of the things that I really suggest that you do is definitely, if you hire someone and you're just not there yet, find a method that works for you. Every time you make a purchase, take 20 minutes out of your day. I was going to say Xerox it, but I don't think that's a thing anymore, but scan it into a file, right? I have a year file for every single year. So 2022 taxes has its own file. I scan all of my receipts into that file. I create folders for each month. Please do that. In the event of an audit, if you do not have receipts to prove that you actually qualify for the deductions that you are claiming, you're going to have an issue, right? And ultimately, it's going to require that you contact the merchant, contact the bank. If this is a 7-year-old audit, a 5-year-old audit, you're running the risk of not being able to get those receipts. So tip number 1, please scan every single receipt that you have so that way you can avoid any issues. Number 2, a very big tip that I had to learn. Do not commingle your personal and, hi Tanae, do not commingle your personal and your business bank accounts, please. If you have a business account, use it for the business only. If you have a personal account, use it for your personal transactions. You don't want a situation where ultimately you are swiping away and you're, buying tickets, you're buying, whether it's plane tickets, bus tickets, train tickets that are not business related, you're going to have an issue, right? If you try to claim those, you hand them to your account, say, here you go, prep this, they add everything up and they're actually not business related, right? So keep everything separate. Number 3, just because you buy it from the business does not mean it's deductible, right? It has to be for a personal use. If you have a vehicle that you use, if let's say you deliver newspapers. I have no idea if that's a thing, so please forgive me. But let's say you deliver newspapers, right? And you use your personal vehicle to do so. You're considered an independent contractor, right? But if you're using your personal vehicle, you can only deduct the portion that you use the vehicle in your business, right? So if you're delivering papers 7 days a week and you're out there 24/7, 16 hours a day, and you're sleeping 8 hours, that's 100% use, right? It's not really a business, it's not personal vehicle. But it gets a little tricky when, let's say you're an Uber driver or a Lyft driver just on your days off. So that might be Saturday and Sunday. If you're doing that, you're not looking at 100% deduction. You're probably looking at a 20-25% deduction, right? So you can only deduct 20% of, either mileage, depreciation, and all those lovely things, right? So you have to be cognizant of how you use these assets. Number 4, please, again, keep receipts. When it comes to vehicle usage, that is probably one of the highly audited areas. Vehicle usage has to be precise. So when you get in your car, this is going to be a pain in the ass. I know, right? But when you get in your car, notate the mileage. Keep written logs. There's also apps out there actually that you can turn on as soon as you start driving. It will track your mileage. It will even track your gas prices, right? So if you don't use your car 100%, or even a piece of machinery, if you don't use it 100% of the time in the business, then you have to keep adequate receipts and you have to keep adequate logs of how you are using it, right? When it comes to logs, they have to be accurate. You can't round to the nearest number. You can't round up. Cost of labor, that's another big one. If you are paying someone, this brings me to tip number 5. If you are paying someone, the IRS has a specific standard. If you're paying someone over $600, you should file a 1099. Me personally, I bring that threshold down to about $100, $150. If I'm paying you $100, $150 for services for the year, I'm going to file a 1099. 1099s are required for individuals that are not incorporated, right? So you provide the person with a 1099 and file it with the IRS. Do not wait a year. Do not wait 6 months to file it. There are penalties associated with late filing, and it can also be rejected. In doing that, you also need documentation for the individual with their date of birth, their social, first name, last name, addresses. You need to know who your independent contractors are. Unfortunately, my clients are in a bit of a sucky position because they relied on someone that they thought that they could trust, right? And unfortunately, they could not. Which leads me to my next point. If you have a CPA, if you have a tax attorney that is providing you with advice and telling you how to do things and what to file, what not to file, ask questions. We are here to educate you. We are not here to tell you, hey, I'm doing this, and you have to be okay with it. You have to know what we are doing, and you have to know why, okay? We are fiduciaries. We are individuals whom you trust to take care of your matter. Therefore, we actually owe you a duty, right? And if we breach that duty, it's on us. It's our butts. So you just don't want to be in that situation. So if you have a CPA or if you have a tax preparer, know where they are, know their names, know their e-filing number, know their PTIN, which is their preparer tax ID number, know information about them. Ask them all the questions that you need to ask. Ask them what is deductible. If you don't understand why it's deductible, ask them why. The reason why I'm telling you this, if you don't and you sign on that dotted line, the dotted line says, I have read this return, I understand the contents of the return, and I'm signing it under the idea that everything contained in here is true. So if your preparer puts something in there that is not true and you sign it, that's your ass, right? You don't want that. Another big issue that we see is cost of depreciation, right? When it comes to car and truck expenses, depreciation for assets, amortization for certain assets, and so forth and so on, I'm not going to bore you with these big words. They're each word in itself is a different show. Um, but a lot of people are under the misconception that if you are taking what's called a depreciation on your value, meaning you're recouping the price that you paid in a sense. And again, it's a more complicated thing, but I'm just being brief. When you go ahead and you take that depreciation, you can't turn around and take mileage also, right? So you have what's called the standard. You have the standard deduction, and then you have the actual expenses deduction. They're two separate things. The standard deduction is I'm just going to lump everything in here with mileage. I'm just going to take mileage and some expenses such as insurance and so forth and so on. But when you take the actual expenses mean every single thing that you've spent on this item, a car and truck, including depreciation, insurance, gas, toll, parking. Those things are deductible, right? So you need to be very, very clear as to what is deductible, because you just don't want yourself in a position where ultimately you're spending thousands of dollars, right? Talking to someone like me and hiring me to ultimately fix this. That is all for today. I really just felt the need to kind of come on here and talk about this. I've been dealing with this audit now for almost a month. I believe it's actually over a month. And thankfully, I'm having a really great outcome for my clients. Fingers crossed. I'm able to save them about 90% of what the IRS initially told them that they owe. But not everyone is this lucky, right? So I just wanted to talk to everyone to just talk about little preventative measures that you can use. This was a very impromptu live. Someone just asked, what are your thoughts on hiring your children? My kid, if it's your kid, depending on, the type of kid and how old, I don't know. Really, really, really depends. Some people think it's a good idea to hire them, and the personal exemption, you pay them up to the amount of the personal exemption, and ultimately that's a deduction for you, and that is free money for them. I think it's a great tax planning tool. It's actually a really, really good one, but it is one that you still have to be careful with, right? You have to make sure you have a legitimate business and you're not just essentially just sheltering money, right? Because we have these loopholes, but there are people who essentially abuse them, and you just don't want to be in that predicament. So what I highly suggest you do is you speak with the individual who actually created your business, because your answer is going to vary depending on what type of business you have. If you have an LLC, or if you have a PC, PA, or how you run your business, right? If you're sole prop, are you looking at having your children come on as independent contractors? Things like that is very important. I'm definitely not against it. I actually think it's a really, really good idea. You just have to make sure that you're just not signing yourself up for, say, hey, I'm my child's employer, and ultimately you don't have any documents, there's no tax filings, there's just nothing there. And also it depends on the age of your child, right? So what I highly suggest is contact the individual that set up your business, talk to a tax attorney, talk to your CPA, and see if your financial circumstances will actually benefit from that. Because you have a business that's earning, well over $500,000-600,000 a year. If you only have one child, that may or may not benefit as much, right? And we also need to think about the tax implications that it will have on your child. So I think that that's a really, really great question. But but definitely your specific circumstance will dictate whether or not it's a good idea. From my specific circumstances, it just doesn't work, but it might work for yours. So reach out to your people, ask them those questions, and see if it's something you can actually do. Okay. With that said, I am Marie-Yves, Nadine Jean-Baptiste. If you all have any questions and you want me to address them on the live, I have no problem. So I am learning with you. That's why they call it practicing law. Don't know everything, right? With that said, if you have any questions, send us a question. Send us your questions at steveslaw.com. And we will address them on the live. Everyone have a wonderful day. Thank you for tuning in. Stay safe. Drink a beer for me, but please don't drive drunk. Okay? Bye.